fuel and hydrate on the bike, but do you know what and how much is good for you? We've got some top tips based on the latest science and feedback from hundreds of sportive riders that will help you perform at your best and enjoy your event more. I'm delighted to be joined by Rochelle Gilmore, former Commonwealth Road Race Champion and owner of the #1 women's pro cycling team, Wiggle HIGH5. So what should be part of your nutrition plan for a long bike ride?
Well, you know, James, that carbohydrates is the high energy fuel for cycling, and it will help you ride faster and further. Unfortunately, we only have a limited amount of stores in our body, and it's depleted in less than 2 hours of cycling. Carbohydrate refueling will substantially extend your endurance by providing the extra energy that you need. You'll enjoy the ride and you'll feel stronger, particularly in the later stages. We lose fluids and we lose electrolytes when we sweat, and if we don't replace the fluids and electrolytes, we become dehydrated.
So, numerous tests by independent sports scientists have shown that simply switching to the HIGH5 Advanced Nutrition Guides on the day of your event enabled cyclists to ride faster and further in comparison to other brands of nutrition. So, let's have a look at what you should be doing on your next big cycle.
An ideal cyclist breakfast is light and high in carbohydrates with a little bit of protein too. Pro riders often have pasta or rice before a long day out in the saddle, but for most people muesli, porridge and toast are good options. A poached egg or an omelette would be a good source of protein. How much you can drink on the bike often depends on the weather conditions. In warm or hot conditions, the scientific 2-to-1 fructose and electrolyte formulation in HIGH5 energy source means that you can drink up to 1 litre per hour. This will provide fluids, electrolytes and carbohydrates for energy.
Some riders also prefer to use an electrolyte-only drink like HIGH5 Zero. This is purely for hydration and will not provide you with any carbohydrates for energy. Depending on what drink you use and how much you drink, you also need to take on carbohydrates from bars or gels. You should be aiming for 60 to 90 grams of carbohydrates per hour.
Start to drink and eat early on in your ride to keep the stores topped up. You might not feel it straight away, but it makes a big difference later in the ride. Pro riders will eat and drink little but often throughout a ride for a steady supply of energy.
Here's a few examples of what you can consume during each hour of a ride if you're drinking energy source. If you're drinking zero, then 1 energy bar and 1 gel per hour will provide you with just over 60 grams of carbohydrate. For gel intake, you can either use energy gel or isogel, depending on your personal preference. In comparison, a banana will provide you with around 20 to 30 grams of carbohydrate, depending on its size.
Athletes use caffeine either before or during racing and training. It's also a great boost if you're starting to suffer later in a ride. When taking part in tough sports events, caffeine contributes to an increase in endurance, performance and capacity. That means that you can go further than before without doing any extra training.
The scientific research has shown an effective dose is 3 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of body weight for increased endurance performance. On the screen, you can see how much caffeine you need to take dependent on your body weight and an example of what you could take to get there. Your body removes caffeine from your bloodstream over time. Once you have loaded up with caffeine, you should top up with 30 milligrams of caffeine every hour. Energy Gel Plus and Isogel Plus each contain 30 milligrams of caffeine per sachet. If you take a second gel in the same hour, then this should be the standard gel that doesn't have any caffeine.
So if you don't wish to use the caffeinated products for any reason, then simply switch the caffeine products for the non-caffeinated equivalent from HIGH5. When we exercise, our muscles become energy depleted and break down. This can cause soreness and stiffness following exercise. Consuming protein and carbohydrate after a long bike ride helps to replenish our muscle energy stores and kickstart the repair and recovery process to aid with training adaptation.
Drink a bottle of protein recovery as soon as you finish. This contains a unique blend of whey protein isolate and carbohydrate. It gives you the time to have a shower and relax a little bit before eating a balanced meal 1 to 2 hours later.